Hi, my crafty friends. Welcome. It's release day over at Spellbinders, and today I get to show you one of the new products from this beautiful release. I'll create a slimline card as well as a regular A2 sized card using this product. So here it is. This one is called Stitched Kaleidoscope Strip Etched Dies, and there are 3 dies in this set. If you like stitching on your card fronts, and you're going to love this die, this is the piece that you will cut out and do your stitching on, these beautiful ovals. And then it has 2 layering pieces to go over it. However, if you don't like stitching, but you still love the layering dies, my second card I'm creating today, it has no stitching involved at all. These strips measure 8.5 inches by 1.25, and they layer up just beautifully. I can't wait to show you. So I went ahead and cut them out off camera and even started my stitching. I'm using some beautiful magenta colored satin embroidery floss, but here are all of the dies laid out, the 3 different pieces. Let me remove the dies, and I want to show you how these layer up. So the stitching piece I cut out with some very heavyweight white cardstock. I believe it's 110 pound. And I'm layering on a piece of soft pink on top of that, and you still see some of the white through it. And then the very top piece is a soft gray. Let me hold this up really close so you can see all of the colors showing through these layering dies. Isn't that just gorgeous? So here is the flip side to my embroidery piece. I like to attach the floss with a little bit of double-sided adhesive. I try to find a place on the die cut that will adequately hide the double-sided adhesive. And I chose that little square there, and then I can snip off the excess. And then I can begin in on my embroidery. It's very fun and easy to do. However, it does take some time to do this. But the results is beautiful, and it provides a really big wow factor for your cards. So I pulled my string apart, so I have 3 strings. 2 would probably be even better with this satin embroidery floss, because it did get kind of tight in that center hole that I had to keep going into. But I liked the dimension and the fullness that the 3 strands of embroidery floss provided. I'm going to show you just a little bit of my stitch work and show you how simple it is. So I just go up the side holes and then down into the middle hole. The satin embroidery floss is kind of slippery, so if it's your first time trying this, you might want to use just a regular cotton embroidery floss. I use my fingers to hold the strings in place behind the die cut, just to keep it from getting too loose. I want all of the stitches to be even. I use a really long strand of embroidery floss just so I can keep working, and I don't have to rethread a string with every oval. Here's a close-up look at the finished piece. Isn't that pretty? I use another small piece of double-sided adhesive to tape down the ends. So now let's layer these up. I'm using liquid glue to adhere this strip onto the first one. And I tried to cover as much of the back of this as I can, just so it stays in place and none of it pulls up. I especially like to put glue on the very ends of these strips, just so it's held down tight. So let's glue down the gray piece last. I chose really pale colored cardstocks to layer together. The embroidery floss is so bright that I thought that that was enough of the bright color for this piece. And I didn't want the cardstock to compete with that too much. So here is a close-up look at this kaleidoscope strip all done. And this will add some really fun dimension to the card. I'm going to pull in an older die set. This is the large die of the month from September of 2021. And the sentiment is going to say just a note. And there were some really fabulous sentiments in this set, as well as some really pretty flowers. So I'm going to use one of the flowers, and the sentiment that says "Just a Note." And it also has the shadow piece behind it, which I love. Makes it look so cute. I cut out the words with bright pink cardstock to match the thread, and then the shadow behind it is just some more white cardstock. Having a pair of tweezers in your tool stash really helps with this step. I hold the very dainty words with the tweezers and add the glue, and then I can just use the tweezers to attach it to the shadow. So I'm going to add even more dimension to this Kaleidoscope strip piece with some square foam pieces. I'll attach a square to each of the ovals. And this also helps keep the thread in place. So this thread is not going to unravel or come undone at all. And then I'll use some even smaller squares between them. I'm just trying to make sure that it won't be seen from the front side of this piece. And these foam squares were the perfect size. On the ends, I'm going to use a foam piece, but I'll cut this in half so that they are little triangles. And then the ends of my piece won't sag at all. You could skip this step, of course, because as I said, it does have a lot of dimension as is. Okay, let's put the last triangle up at the top. And then I can peel off the backing. I'm going to attach this to a piece of gray cardstock that measures 8.5 by 3.5. And this is going down just at the side of this panel. Once I have that lined up, I can just press it into place. I'm going to glue the sentiment down flat. Again, with the help of the tweezers, it just helps to get your fingers out of the way so you can see if you're putting it down straight. This is one of my favorite sentiments to use on my cards. And this one by Spellbinders was just beautiful. I love the font, and I love that it has a shadow piece behind it. Okay, we're just going to add a single flower on this card next. It just needed a little something under the sentiment. I'll glue the first piece of the flower down flat. And then I'm going to use another foam square. I'll peel off the release paper, and this is a pretty layering flower. I'll just pop that in place over it. I'll glue the stem down flat. It's such a thin little strip of paper. And then the leaves I'll use foam squares on as well. It's nice to have all different sizes of foam adhesive in your stash. And I sure use all of the different sizes and shapes of the foam adhesive. It's really nice to have. So let's attach the last leaf. And then I'll glue this to my white card base. This is made from 110-pound Nina Solar White. I also added a few clear gems to the front of this card, just around the sentiment. And here is a close-up look at the finished card. I'm curious to know if you guys enjoy stitching on your card fronts like I do. I just love the results, and I find it fun and relaxing to do. It adds a nice texture to your cards as well. And just a very pretty sheen with this satin embroidery floss. For card number 2, I'm not going to be doing any stitching. I'm going to attach a piece of silver fox cardstock to my white card base. This is a top folding card base. And again, it's A2, which is 5.5 by 4.25. And these two pieces are the only pieces I'm going to be using. I'm going to take the stitching piece and put that aside. We're not going to be using that at all for this card. I already cut out the two dies with a piece of white cardstock and granite gray cardstock from Spellbinders. I'm going to snip these down the middle. It's very easy to do because you'll have 3 ovals on each piece once you snip it down the center. And once this is snipped in half, it's going to fit your card panel perfectly, so it measures 4 1/4. So let's layer the gray piece on top of the white piece. The gray and the white are really pretty together. It's very subtle, but I'm going to use more colors on the front of this panel. The sentiment comes from another Die of the Month club from last year, from September of 2021. And I'm just using the sentiment that says Happy Birthday. And this is another beautiful font with the shadow piece behind it. The club kits always provide you with such wonderful stash building sets. I actually keep this one handy, so it's in one of my bins on the shelf next to my desk. If these are still available, I will link them in the description box below. Now let's attach the birthday to the black shadow piece. I really like that the dot is attached to the I on this word. I'll glue down my Kaleidoscope strips next, but I had to have the sentiments ready to go because I wanted to put them in between the sentiments. So what I'm doing is I'm turning all of these ovals from this Kaleidoscope strip into balloons. And I needed to have enough room for the balloon tails. So let's go ahead and glue down the happy. And next I'm going to add some foam squares inside the ovals. I'll peel up the release paper. And I went ahead and cut out this Kaleidoscope die with pink and teal and green so that I'd have these ovals. And then I can just use my tweezers to pop up these balloons inside of the Kaleidoscope dies. I really love how this one turned out. And this is going to be a really fun birthday card to give to someone. So I'm using the set I showed you previously, the large die of the month from September. It's called Just a Tweet. It has some balloon strings and some balloon ties that I was able to cut out. Here's a look at this set, but it has these little balloon ties that I used, and it cuts out 3 at a time. And then lots of different shapes of strings to use. And I used this smallest string attached to this die here. And I cut out the strings with black. So I should have done this before I attached the ovals to the Kaleidoscope piece. But it's pretty easy just to add a little dab of glue and slide these balloon ties underneath. The cardstock I'm using for the balloons are from Spellbinders. The green one is Peridot, and the teal one is called Teal Topaz, and the pink is Pink Sand. So I needed to even cut down the balloon strings just a little bit more so that I could fit everything on the front of this card. And I'm gluing the strings down flat onto the gray cardstock. I'm just trying to position them right under the balloon ties. Next, we can attach the birthday word under the balloons. I'm just kind of working my way down the card because I needed enough room for the balloon strings. And now for the Kaleidoscope strip. And this time I'm going to attach the balloon ties first before I attach it to the card. And then I have my foam squares all ready to go. And this was really fun to do. And then I can just pop these onto the foam squares. From the die of the month from September, there were also some little dainty flowers. And I cut out a few using some white cardstock. I just cut out 3 and I'll attach it to 3 of the balloons. Then I found some gems to match the balloons. So this one is aquamarine. And then I have a green and a pink gemstone to put in the center of the last 2 flowers. And here's a close-up look at the card. I love finding new ways to use my die cuts, and I love how this one turned out, and it was really fun to put together. I'll have a link in the description box below that will take you to all of the new products that are released from Spellbinders today. I have another card video coming out really soon using some more products from this release. Thanks for spending some of your precious time with me today. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Take care, my crafty friends. Bye.